Welcome back to Veterans Claims Ambush. We'll be talking today about a full Inspector General report. I want you to see one of these. And it's about Roanoke office, the regional office in Roanoke, Virginia. I have dealt with this office since 2014. I've dealt with many offices because of the national work queue. Short break. Sorry for that, but it happens. So this is dated December of 2017. I've been dealing with them since 2014. And 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, etc. 23 into 24. This is a full report, so in case you didn't know. Why on earth did they do this report? I wonder. Why we, excuse me, why we did this audit. It's not an audit. I've gone over this. It's a review. Audits are done by outside independent firms. These are VA employees doing this audit. So, we're talking about Roanoke, Virginia. There was an allegation. OIG substantiated the allegation that Roanoke VARO appeals management, they call it a team, entered incorrect appeals data and prematurely closed appeal records. These are appeals. So they have already denied the claim. See? Roanoke denied the claim, and now what they were doing was putting together the material that would go with the Form 9 appeal up to the Board of Veteran Appeals. This is the old rules before the 2017 statute was put in place. So we're dealing with Form 9. The closed appeals were marked as withdrawn by the appellant, although there was no evidence of a withdrawal. You see what they were doing? Why would they do that? Why would they do that? So OIG went there and reviewed 331 closed appeal records, indicating they were withdrawn. They only did a small sampling, basically from December, the end of December of 15 through only September 30 of 2016. So it's about 9.5 months. The OIG determined that 278, 84% were improperly closed because the electronic record did not contain any evidence of a withdrawal request by the appellant. Okay? These two appellants, in two cases, may never have received decisions on the appealed issues. In other words, it was ditched. Why did this happen? It was a long-standing practice. A long-standing practice at the RO to consolidate appeal records and reduce the pending workload. This is the best part on this page. VA RO and VSC management were unaware of this practice. We don't know. While the appeals managers knew, they were unaware of its full impact. It used to be a best practice by a former appeals manager. In other words, oh, we only do what the... Oh, he's not here anymore? Oh, well. Why did they do this? They made it look like it decreased. Why would they do that? Whoop. It did not benefit veterans. He said no money bonuses would be awarded for meeting performance goals in 2016, and audit findings would be reflected. It's about bonuses. They made it look like there were fewer cases, and they manipulated the data. And they got caught. And they didn't get their bonuses for 2016. The appeals managers. What about the RO manager? Or, as they like to call it, director. Did he get a bonus? Or she get a bonus? So, the IG said, you have to go back and see if there's any corrective action. You're supposed to go to regional counsel. The VA has regional lawyers. And then discuss what steps to take, if any. Nobody gets fired. Nothing happens. A few people don't get their bonus, the others did. Now, when they do a report, you get a table of contents. Okay. Whoops. On August 10, 2016, the OIG received an anonymous allegation that the staff falsely inflated completion rates. This is a falsely inflated completion rates of appeals to achieve production goals by entering incorrect data. In other words, people knew what they were doing. They wanted to hit their bonus production requirement, and they did it. Short break. Now, what do you call somebody who falsely inflates a number in order to receive compensation because of that false inflation? What would happen to you if you did that? What happened to them when, according to the IG, they did that? A little background information about how these appeals work. Okay, this is back in the day where the regional office would deny the claim. The claimant veteran would then file a notice of disagreement, NOD, and we would have then a chance for the regional office to explain what it was doing, called an SOC, Statement of the Case. That would be given to, statement of the case would be given to the veteran, and then if they didn't agree with that, it would go up through a Form 9 on appeal, a substantive appeal, to the Board of Veterans' Appeals. All right? I'm showing you that nothing changes. I don't care what they do with the statute. You saw the prior IG reports. So we have falsely stated productive accomplishments to reach production goals. Not my words, production goals. Okay? Appellants with multiple appeals will have multiple VACOLS records. Every step of the appeal requires VACOLS updates. So it is moved, what? Expeditiously. What? It takes years and years under the old system. Oh, it was abysmal. Okay. But watch this. Work. In other words, they would have to make an electronic entry on the VACOLS system when an action is taken on the appeal. So this would leave a footprint of time plus action. And you would never see it. You still can't see it. But that wasn't all. They'd already been cited in another report for screwing around. Okay? Back then, they were taking newer and simpler appeals and leaving the old ones to rot, resulting in thousands of incomplete appeals dating back from 2010 to 2013. Do you understand why so much time would pass? It wasn't workload. What were they doing? It wasn't workload. They didn't have to do any work, but they did have to occasionally make a note. They could say denied, give the goofiest of reasons, and then challenge the vet. They refused, this Roanoke office, to issue an SOC for me. They refused. I went after them all the time to do it. I filed a claim, they denied it. I filed an NOD, they refused to issue an SOC. It got to the point where I said, fine, I'll just do the case without your SOC. They issued an SOC, and it said erosive esophagitis was just a red spot. Just a red spot. Let me tell you how wild these people were. So they issued this junk SOC because I forced them to. I wouldn't stop. And they said, it's just a red spot. Okay, if you disagree with us, you can file your opposition. You have 60 days to do it. And here's the address you should send it to. And the address was in Newnan, N-E-W-N-A-N, Georgia. You have 60 days to do it, or else you're out. Short break time for me. I'm back. Newnan, Georgia. So I did 1,000 pages of text outlining what I had been presenting, medical reports, etc., from their own hospital system, the Veterans Hospital in D.C., and I sent it to Newnan, Georgia. And I sent it pretty quick because I had been anticipating having to do it. There were about 1,000 pages of attachments, medical journal articles, medical records, etc. And there was a brief that went on the front of it, which described all of the attached pages. I tracked it. It got to Noonan, Georgia, and stopped. Didn't move from there. 3 or 4 days later, I called up the postmaster at Noonan, Georgia, and here is what I found. The address they had sent me had been abandoned by the VA, and there was no forwarding address. Remember what I told you about a sociopath. When you corner them, if you physically corner them, they will react physically. If you intellectually corner them, they will react intellectually. So, I printed up another box. I had it on file. I got the right address by calling around and delivered it in time to the, at that time it was being collected up in Janesville, Wisconsin. So I sent it to Janesville, Wisconsin. It was taken in. It was timely. They couldn't default me. That was the whole purpose. They had sent me for idiotic C&P exams, but they were all taken apart. What was the net result? I ended up going to the Board of Veterans' Appeals and got a decision in April of 2020. I'll go through that in more detail as to how I was able to do that, because they did everything they could to stop me from progressing. So it's called sewer service. You throw it in the sewer. And that's what they did to me, except it was kind of reversed. They told me to file at the wrong place deliberately. They can do this to you. And I overcame it by suspicion, tracking, and being able to reproduce a 1,000-page plus submission, because I can do that. But the odds are you cannot. Short break. I'm back. So you understand that Roanoke was running a scam. It was a bonus office. They would deny things and then screw up the appeals. And they were entering incorrect data on an official government website. VACOLS was basically open to them as part of a website. It's an electronic data collector about dates, times, and locations. I had an appeal on VACOLS up at the Board of Veterans' Appeals in 2015, and the appeal disappeared. That's BVA admin, not the judges, BVA admin. It just disappeared. And then I found out that BVA admin was talking to Roanoke behind my back. Not giving me copies, not telling me what they were going to do. Ex parte behind my back. They used a form 113. I found that otherwise. The OIG reviewed 331 appeal records. 278 were improperly closed. See? I was on VACOLS in 2015, and then I seem to have disappeared. In 2 of the 278, they didn't even add all the pending issues when they decided to juggle them around. One of the records was an appeal with 10 pending issues. Guess what? That may have been mine. It's a big appeal. Now, how could I have 10 different issues? Well, what they decided to do was to throw on phony issues. They said I had filed a claim for a pension. False. They said I had claimed for an injury to my lower back. False. They said I had claimed for a loss of an eye. False. Why do they do that kind of stuff? It's just fun. The most recent one was they said I have a claim for an elonginal nerve paralysis. It's a sex nerve. It comes off of your backbone, wraps around your hip, and goes, in a man, into the front of the crotch, down and around, and into the scrotum. They just make these things up. Why do they do that? To have fun. What else is there to do during the day? So they would make up false claims. They also went back because I had filed before I left active duty. I had gotten my medical record, I had filed. And on that filing, I had listed diverse events. A little short break. Back. So I had listed diverse events. What diverse events? Well, in an earlier video, I discussed my lungs. They're all calcified from some kind of an infection, service-connected. So that was one. Another was my hearing. All right. So when I got out and I was examined by the VA and by their special hearing referral, as an example, the lungs, service-connected, but 0 rating, was a proper decision at that time. The hearing, yes, service-connected, proper decision, 0 rating. And at that time, that was a proper decision. You see? And I've talked about that, where you have service connection, right? And then you may have a 0 rating. And there were others. Okay? I didn't realize at the time that I had been environmentally poisoned by the water being poisoned at all of my PCS bases. I didn't know. Neither did my examining physician at a VA hospital, who went over the whole list of medical issues that I had presented. I was drinking a combination of jet fuel, firefighting foam, a sprinkling of radiation, and other stuff. So when I made out my claim form originally, I listed each of these things as an incidental affect. And then I was examined. So when you see 10, that means in 2014 and 15, when I was serious now about the GERD, which had taken off and was erosive esophagitis with little breaks or ulcers, and was much more serious. What they did was they went back to the original 1981 filing, and they put on the kitchen sink. And they still talk about that. All right? So that was probably me. The solution to it was they ditched it. And in talking to the Board of Veterans' Appeals, I filed my Form 9, and they ditched it. Short break. Okay, I'm back. Not the best day today. So the IG team is there at recidivist Roanoke. They were there before, as I showed you. Roanoke, it just won't stop. It just won't stop. It's all about the bonus. So they interviewed these people. Look at the highlight. I don't know nothing. I don't know. So you'll see the VA director, the VS, Veteran Service Center, term of art, manager, and 2 assistant. You know what these pay grades are? Okay, you got 6 years experience each. And told the IG, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. So they talked to 11 appeals staff, and 7 stated that they had concerns about the procedure for prematurely closing appeals records. So everybody knew about it, apparently, in the appeals staff. Seven stated that they had concerns. So they were doing it, and 7 of them said they had concerns. And some staff indicated they had raised their concerns to the senior but non-supervisory appeals team. Don't you love this, appeals team? You're not on that team. I was not on that team. Get it? But the practice just continued. All right? And so they went to the appeals team manager, who did not recall. I don't recall. So management had not been responsive to other issues in the past, so appeals team people didn't bother bringing it up. See what I mean about an institution that takes on characteristics? And the people who come to work for that entity later on, in order to keep that job, may feel they have a requirement, or that it is an unwritten form of approval that they keep their jobs, that they basically don't rock the boat. Get it? So what are we looking at? The organization has become what its people push into it. It doesn't mean the new people coming in are this, but they see the organization as this, and if they want that job, what did they say? The other appeal staff stated they did not express their concerns because management had not been responsive to other issues in the past. There was no reason for this procedure to continue in the paperless environment. Paperless. And yet, I showed you something from 2020 where, not in this office, but in another office, where veterans are being hounded for paying hospital bills, that appeals were being, where were they put? They were put in file cabinets, in bins, in boxes. What is this paperless stuff? This is the IG. This is the IG. They got their bonus. The whole point was for accurate measurements, and it was inherently inaccurate. Mm-hmm. See how they did it? They got credit. Credit. It's about bonus. Production goals. And what happened to the appeal? Improperly combining issues from multiple appeal records. They're supposed to go to the board, and they can't be transferred to the board until all issues are certified as ready. Now, that doesn't happen today. And I think Roanoke was the shining example of what was happening. I think it was happening probably at all of them. But you understand, they could deny it, deny the claim, and in doing this, oh yes, they'd hit their bonus. There's a second reason, which is that they will never transmit the file to the Board of Veterans' Appeals under this old tactic. And maybe you'll go away, and maybe you'll die. I filed a perfected appeal at the board without the nod in 2015. It disappeared. We didn't argue about it. It disappeared. The RO finally decided they would put out this SOC and told me to respond, which I had to do, at the wrong address, an abandoned address. You with me? You see what's happening? Time is going by. I got a decision out of the BVA in April of 2020. Count the years. That's what they do. And then it was remanded back to VBA in large part, which they refused to work on. I had to go to federal court to get VBA to do its job on the remands. And I'm still in litigation with them on remands. I'm supposed to be dead. Medically, I'm supposed to be dead. And all of this would have gone away, and they would have collected their bonus. They are willing to do this to me, and they will do it to you. Get a lawyer. Get your own lawyer. See what they did? That's the effect. You don't have to be in specifics about vehicles and this and that. What do you have to know? What they were doing was illegal. So we take all this nonsense and we come to who got fired. No one. I've walked you back from 2020. This is still going on. It's the mindset. You understand what I'm getting at? It's the mindset. When I say this is going on, I'm not talking about that in specific. I'm talking about how it works. You see, this line diagram shows you responsibilities, doesn't it? It shows you nothing. Nobody's responsible. Okay? Management is allowed to comment. These are the comments for management. We agree. So you see the format? This is the format. We identified the following in our review. 4 of them died. 4 of us died. 4 of us died. Well, failed to respond to SOC. Maybe they gave somebody else that false address. You see? Remanded back. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Required to be unmerged, 143. 4 of us died. That is called Death Watch. Acknowledgements. Who was fired? The report is meaningless. It's nice. Looks impressive. What's this? Tune in. Next video. I'm not your lawyer. I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm begging you get legal advice. Next video coming up sometime. College level course.